today we are going to be doing a classic tarot reading. I have two piles ready here for you, the Tarot of the Divine and the Yokai Tarot, each with their own special bowl as well as their stone. So we have the gold bowl here with our lovely Unakite, and it sounds like this. And then we have our lovely amethyst with the green bowl. I'll play them each one more time. And you'll be able to see in the description below for the pile that you would like to choose. Hello everyone, and welcome to your reading. So we selected the gold bowl, which is a very high frequency, usually best for crown chakras, third eyes, things like that. And then the Unakite thumbstone. It's actually lovely for meditating. I have two of them. You have that little indent there, so you can really hold on to it nicely and even put it over the eyes. If you put it in the fridge, it's nice and cold. But anyhow, you've chosen the Yokai Tarot, so we're going to shuffle it and see what messages are available for you. Now, if you don't know already, I do offer personalized readings. I offer them individually on Etsy, or I have a discounted rate on Patreon. All of those links will be there below, so if you enjoy my readings and you want to support me, or you just want a reading for yourself to better understand the energies in your life, all of those will be available below. Now this deck is very talkative. I almost couldn't focus on what I was saying because everything's just popping out. Now I will say I don't believe I've reviewed this deck yet on my channel, but it's a very fabulous Japanese style deck. It does have some strange imagery, to say the least, but the illustrations are great. It's on a nice matte surface, and it's pretty easy to read. Now that is what I call a great start. The Ace of Coins, and then the Six of Cups. All right. But then we have the Five of Cups, the balance. We have the Hermit. Let's see, the Queen of Coins, the Ace of Wands, the Magician, and the Devil. My goodness, you have quite the story to tell. Quite the story. I see a lot of beginnings here, and I see quite a few major arcana. And then I see the dichotomy of the Five of Cups and the Six of Cups. Oh goodness. This is such an interesting battle between... It almost feels like heart and mind, or heart and grounding. I need a minute because it is a lot to absorb, and I want to make sure that I organize this in a way that will be the easiest for us to both read together. Alright, so it took me a moment to really sit with these cards and understand the story that it's trying to share. And what I got from it was, you have two aces here, two incredible stories that can begin, but something felt off about the Devil, the Ace of Wands, the Five of Cups, and I put them off to the side. But then there was also the Ace of Coins, the Queen of Coins, and the Six of Cups. But with the Magician in the middle, it makes more sense to me because it is reminding us that you have a decision to make, that you have complete control to create your life. And I do believe that there may be two opportunities coming for you. How I see this is the Ace of Wands is a card that represents the passion and fire of, say, a new creative venture, or being a little more chaotic, frivolous, fun. I see this as what could be perceived as something enjoyable, but I don't see necessarily a continuation with this card. I see it comes up, but there's no continuation of the fire throughout this reading, right? We have cups, we have coins, we have major arcana cards, but it seems like this looks very enticing, but I kind of get more the feeling that it creates an illusion, the way that the devil might, if the devil is trying to entice you into something, and that would ultimately lead to the suffering that the Five of Cups provides. Now, with the Ace of Coins, there was a clear connection to a Queen of Coins. The Queen of Coins is someone who is very financially stable, who is grounded in their material wealth. They are abundant. And I also saw the Six of Cups correlating to that because I saw almost coming back to the roots, right? You're looking at the Ace of Coins, which is a stable card. It's a card about having a slow start, a stable start, a very clear, almost like a little bit cleaner than something that can be as chaotic as, say, a Wands or a Cups. And the Six of Cups is kind of giving me this idea that going back to childhood passions or the childhood root might be a part of that process. Now, I'm not saying that you will completely eliminate this Ace of Wands idea that comes in. I think it's totally your choice. But I would say if you do decide to, that going into that childhood self would probably be the better way to connect with the passion that this new idea would have. So if you're put in the position of using enticing tactics to open up this world, whether that be a new job, whether that be a very fun, flamboyant relationship or new lifestyle, to go back to the essence of who you were as a child, what you loved as a child, that innocence, that light, so that you don't get sucked away into what the devil offers, which is usually the abstinence of childhood curiosity and delight, and looks very exciting, but ultimately leads to a lack of satisfaction, right, with that Five of Cups. Now, I put the Hermit in the center here because I do think it seems like, obviously there's a lot of big energy, right? There's big beginnings, there's suffering, there's a lot of major arcana cards. I'm getting the feeling it probably is best for you to, I don't want to say step down, but almost step away or step out of the room of these potential opportunities for a minute and reconnect with yourself. Again, really assessing that childhood self is kind of what I'm getting out of this. Now, this isn't all that I'm going to pull from today. So we're also going to take a look at the Astro Oracle deck just to get an idea if there are any astrological or planetary themes that could go with your reading. I do get a feeling that this could be a love, like the choice between loving yourself almost with the coins or loving someone externally who might not have the best intentions, or a childhood love versus the love of someone who might have a lot of riches or excitement. Now let's see the two cards I've pulled here. Retrograde, review. So definitely this is telling me that the Hermit is a requirement before you step into this chapter. You need to go and look at the history of what you've done, if there are things that align with the desired pathway, or if you are repeating old patterns. Cancer, immerse. This is my sign actually, so I'm very close to it. And this is telling me that the cups are almost more of the lead in this, I'm realizing. It's the choice of going back to childhood or repeating a pattern that creates suffering. And when I say childhood, maybe your childhood wasn't great, but do you understand what I mean when I'm suggesting the idea of that childlike wonder or that childlike idea of abundance, because we didn't know what the world contained and there was kind of hope that there was a little something more. And as you get older, you kind of start to think that you know everything when you don't. I feel like the devil is also a very good representation of that mindset. So we're going to also pull from my other Threads of Fate oracle here, just to see if there are any more themes for you. And like I said, if you want something more detailed, I'm more than happy to provide that. I also do a little giveaway on my Patreon once a month for people that can't afford it. There's a lower tier. So anyhow, what do we have here? The pillar. The pillar. This is stepping into something new, but also making sure that you're grounded. I think it's saying that, again, the Ace of Coins is probably the better pathway to walk through. The Sage. I mean, that's the Hermit in a different font. Kind of also the Magician in many ways. So this is reflecting the idea that using your wisdom to create your new life rather than using your the idea of heart versus mind. I think that maybe heart or passion or excitement might be driving you initially, and you have to be balancing that out a bit with what you know and who you are. The Seeker. Okay, you know what's interesting here is we have teeth in both of these images. That sense of losing, that sense of vulnerability. And also the childlikeness of losing your teeth, I've always thought is kind of an interesting thing when you see that imagery as well, but it's giving me, you need to go back to a place where you were vulnerable in your childhood, I feel, to understand why maybe you want to repeat this pattern when maybe you can rewrite the story here and have a more successful output. Because, you know, normally when I do these readings, there's usually a very clear beginning and a very clear end. That's what I struggled with when I first saw this and why I needed a minute. There are some clear beginnings, right? You have the two aces to choose from. The Magician, it's an early card in the deck, but there's not like a lot of kings or the world, you know, anything that would signify the ending. Except for this, the Queen of Coins. Someone who is abundant, someone who understands herself, someone who feels emotionally, financially, mentally stable, secure in the material world and otherwise. And I think all of this together is going to ultimately lead you to that if you want. Obviously, if you desire elsewhere, if you desire maybe playing a messier game, then that's an opportunity as well. You are allowed to seek that, but whether or not it will satisfy you is a different story. But yeah, definitely a time in life to reflect, and you know, we'll see if you need to repeat those patterns or not. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you'd like to subscribe or if you like my content, please let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate any feedback. But anyhow, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Okay, bye-bye. Hello everybody, and welcome to your reading. You've chosen the green bowl and the Uruguayan amethyst, which I know I'm not supposed to pick favorites, but this is still one of my favorite stones right now. I mean, gosh, that is stunning. So we're going to place these off to the side for the moment, and we're going to start by shuffling the cards just to see what kind of themes are coming up for your reading. Now, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe if you enjoy the content. And if you want personalized readings, I do offer them. You can get one-time readings on Etsy in various capacities, or I do have discounted readings on my Patreon. Oh my goodness. As well as a few other membership options. Okay, apparently the deck is talking today. But anyhow, if you want a personalized reading or to support the channel, you can do so, and the links will be below. So, what's going on for you, hey? Clearly, plenty. The deck is having no trouble talking, and it feels very easy to pull from. It doesn't feel like I'm guessing about what cards are coming out. So the ones that jumped out right away were the Five of Wands. Okay, you've got some stuff going on. The Three of Coins and the Seven of Coins. And then who are the rest? The World. Okay. The Ace of Swords. Oh boy. Then we have the King of Wands, the Chariot. I do get a lot of fast energy, and then we have the Eight of Wands right after the Chariot. The Six of Swords and Death. Okay. Tell me about your life. My God, this is fun. Not that your struggle is fun, just to be clear, but you know, I mean, look at these themes. Let's move this down a bit just to get a little more of a view. I mean, I can see that things will end in a good spot, but boy, oh boy, are there a lot of twists and turns happening. It seems like there are, oh my God, where do I even begin? There's so much. Obviously, the World is a good ending point. I think the King of Wands is kind of you building through this process. I do get the feeling that it's interesting because I see death here, right? It's very clear that we see death. We see the Six of Swords. I definitely feel those are coming together. But how do these play out? So what we were starting with was the Five of Wands, right? So Five of Wands is a signifier of competition. Competition either within yourself, it could be in your career, it could be feeling like maybe you're battling against other potential partners of your desired lover, right? There's a lot of potential opportunities for it, but either way, there's some form of competition, or it can even be, and this isn't always the case, but this can be an internal fight with yourself, trying to battle priorities, who's most important in your life, what's most important in your life. And it seems like, you know, the more I look at that, the more it feels like that's really what's happening here. And I say that because the Seven of Coins makes more sense. The Seven of Coins is a card of, it can be opportunity, but it's a card of opportunity and abundance, but there's that process that has to come with it, and making sure that you're not rushing that process. And perhaps if you're feeling impatient, the parts of you that want to start fighting will start coming out. I get the feeling at some point you get sick of being in that situation and you leave it behind. And we see that very clearly with the Six of Swords and the Death card as well. And people get afraid of the Death card. I love the Death card. It's one of my favorite cards to see because it means that something is over. It means a cycle is ending, which means something new is beginning, which is why I actually think in this case it's probably better to have the Ace of Swords there, because I get an idea here that you have a new idea. No, but I really mean that, because the Ace of Swords, swords in general, can represent thought, being a thought leader, new ideas, and the swiftness of it all happening. Everything happens quite quickly with swords. And I really get the feeling that it's almost like those people that go from living very fast-paced lives, whether it's with their families or they can be businessmen or women that are running these big companies and then they just leave it all behind. That's kind of the energy of what it gives me coming into that first part of the reading. And then we go into the Three of Coins, which is a great card because it says to me that you are opening up to a new experience. You're opening up to a new stage of life. and there are opportunities to educate yourself, to be a student of life again. And I feel like that's really, really exciting. Like maybe you go back to school to do your passion finally, or you take up a mentorship opportunity, or you connect with someone who is ultimately a wonderful opportunity to learn from. And I see that this transition happens quickly. I'm not sure what triggers it. We'll go to the oracle cards later to see if we can get a hint. But once you leave this old chapter behind, the Eight of Wands is about things happening really quickly, right? Even the Ace of Swords is a fast-moving new idea. But you also have the Chariot. That's also fast-paced. That's also moving in a clear direction. Like whatever you're ending up going towards is clear, it's concise, it's happening. And then we have the King of Wands, which kind of tells me you get this sense of confidence, you know, that charisma, that confidence, that feeling of like, yeah, I've got this. And I think that's a nice twist from the Five of Wands, where there was more of this battling with what should be, what shouldn't be. Is the abundance coming? Is it not? What are the options here? It's like, no, I know. I don't need to ask myself these questions. And ultimately we have the World card, which is a beautiful way to say everything comes together. Everything will have its happy ending. But what are the cracks in between here? I want to know. I want to know. We'll see if we get to find out. So I'm going to see about the Astro Oracle deck. This is an astrological deck. It has planets, various signs, and it can be a fun way to see about little themes that might be occurring. And I think I've pulled enough there. The 12th house, introspection. The 12th house is a wonderful house to be pulling from. The 12th house, I mean, introspection is pretty self-explanatory, but it is a pretty fantastic option if you're someone who's trying to grow in a spiritual way, in a psychological way, if you're trying to release ego and be a little bit more philosophically open-minded. So it kind of gives me the idea that maybe this new thought idea is something in the basis of, you know, some people go to Buddhist retreats or meditation retreats and all of a sudden their world changes. I don't think we could have a more perfect card than Mars for something like this. Motion. I mean, this or Aries would also have been very good, but this is very clearly talking about the speed in which these things are happening. It will almost feel a little bit chaotic, I think, initially going through this process because it's going to happen so fast. I think the Mars almost warlike energy does what did I say? You guys heard me. I did not look at these cards beforehand. Aries and Mars together. That is so funny. I swear I did not see that. Okay. That's so weird and so funny. Yeah, you have a lot of fast-paced, chaotic energy that pushes you into this next chapter. So I would recommend if you have some way to ground yourself during this time, because I'm looking, all I see here is the Three of Coins and the Seven of Coins. I think the Three of Coins is probably a better bet for you to ground yourself with. So when you're going into this new stage of learning, I would say kind of use that learning as a way to ground yourself in this chaotic journey, knowing that that's your anchor, that's what you're coming back to, that's what the purpose perhaps is correlated to. But how is that possible? But I called that. That is crazy. Okay. I get so excited when that kind of stuff happens because it doesn't happen all the time. Anyhow, so I want to pull from the Threads of Fate Oracle because this is also great for having themes that are a little more general for people that aren't as into astrology. Now, I am feeling it's a little bit stiff for me. But okay, I say that, and then look at these beautiful 3 cards here that were sitting right up for us. So let's see what we've got for you. The Weaver. Ooh, okay. You see the correlation here. Even the imagery in the back of the sword has a little bit of like rope that you're weaving. So this new idea is something that you are participating in the creation of. It's not wild and reckless if you are in control of it. So that's important to remember, that you do have some control in this new chapter. Sacred sexuality. It could be exploring. I mean, sexuality, we obviously go to the very clear idea of what it could be, but I also do look at the five senses and how we can engage that in our lives. So keep that in mind. It might not be as simple as sexuality, but sensuality, the nature of understanding the five senses. I think all of that plays a role. But I mean, the ask body is kind of telling me that something about this has to do with your physical body. I don't know about your personal life, obviously, so I can't speak too much to that, but how interesting. Maybe, because I was saying, right, we're looking for what the trigger is that gets you to move forward and to make this decision in the first place. And I am getting the feeling that the sacred sexuality and the ask body is kind of telling me that something has happened with you physically, with your body, that might be the catalyst to you deciding to take a break. You know, I see people that get burnt out with the Five of Wands, for example, and they say, you know what, I had to go to the hospital because I had too much stress from work, or, you know, so on and so forth. And as a result, you know, you end up with needing to make a major change. And I definitely see that happening here, and I see it happening quite quick when it does. So anyhow, like I mentioned, if you want a more personalized reading, I will leave the links down below. But if you enjoyed this and you want to subscribe or like and see future readings of mine, I would very much appreciate it. But anyhow, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to hopefully doing a reading for you again